can I talk about Lightroom straight away?
Yeah, you might as well. Might as well dig in.
Does anybody else have the problem that I've got, which is it crashes? It tends to be when I'm not working on it. If it,
You're running on the Mac.
Yeah, I knew somebody would get the old cheap shot in about Macs.
Oh no, Macs are expensive. It's not cheap.
Yeah, I'm going to run it on overpriced kit.
I was talking about the comment. The kit's all right. I like the kit.
I love the kit as well.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wondered.
Chris, can I ask you a question? I watched your excellent part 3. Am I correct in assuming that when you use keywords, it searches everything that has gone through Lightroom, i.e. via the catalogue, which is obviously automatic?
It searches the whole catalogue.
The whole catalogue. So anything you've ever processed in Lightroom, unless you've...
It depends on how you want to do it. So yeah, I'll share my screen because I'll have to demo this. So
if you're pointing to all your catalogue, then it'll
search
through all the catalogue. If you're pointing to a particular folder, it'll just search through that folder.
So you'd have to literally, I mean, I'd be searching in theory, Jeff, through the way you've structured it through Dropbox.
No, you do. It's oh, hang on a sec. Oh
dear.
Shit, what I meant to do.
Is this a Windows problem, Chris?
No, it's a Linux problem. It's what we call a BBCAK problem between chair and keyboard.
Well, I've heard that term before.
Very good.
Or as I've often seen logged, loose nut on the keyboard. Right. So say let's take this lot and keyword that lot. Probably did this actually already, but
I can see you've highlighted all photos.
No, on the left. Just at the moment, I just highlighted it. So these are highlighted Epping Forest. These aren't. Right. Okay. So if I click on the left and highlight all photos,
yeah,
I'm searching all photos when I ask text for Epping Forest.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how you search everything. If I just wanted to search in a particular, say, I was looking for pictures of Epping Forest on the 5th of May.
On the 5th of May, yeah, get it.
Yeah, this over here on the left-hand side. Hang on a sec. I know you're a big fan of this.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris.
Oh, yes.
For those with faulty sight.
Yeah, so if I click here over here,
it's made a big difference.
That's funny. It's huge on my screen, but it's no bigger. It's no bigger on the.
That is strange, isn't it? You would have known because Jeff did that, didn't you, Jeff? I think once. I think you've done it, Chris, and it normally makes a bigger cursor.
I don't know. Maybe it has to be. I don't know. Who knows? It's Zoom.
That doesn't make any IT sense, does it?
I don't know. It's Zoom. It might be a Zoom setting actually. Yeah, I was doing a talk last night, and it was quite strange because I was changing the slide on this screen, and then up to 10 seconds later, the slide was coming up for everybody on the other screen. It was like, I was like, so, and this shot is the only one. So it's a bit sort of new. So yeah,
I've had that problem a couple of times.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just internet lag, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically, Warren, if you search over here, if you've clicked over this side, when you search text, it's only searching in this. So 5th of May, and it searched looking for all the pictures of Epping Forest.
But when you went to catalogue, Chris, your catalogue.
Yeah.
Isn't all photographs everything you've ever put through Lightroom?
It's everything in this catalogue. right? Everything I've ever imported into this catalogue. Now, if you do things the way Adobe say you should do, yeah, then that is everything you've ever taken, because the idea of Lightroom, the philosophy behind it, is that you have one catalogue that shows everything, that has every image you've ever taken in it. Yeah.
It doesn't include the deleted ones.
No.
Well,
Chef.
no. Well, you could do. You could keep them on there.
Yes, you could.
Because obviously keywords, if you just wanted to use it in its bigger concept,
Yeah.
is amazing if it is actually searching through every single picture you've ever looked or processed in.
Yeah, it will do. I mean,
It does.
yes, it will do.
It's
So,
really useful, isn't it?
so yeah. So, for instance, on my main library, if I search for pictures of that are tagged with the name of one of my dogs, I'll get like 8,000-9,000 images back of that particular dog, because I keyworded it when I put them away, when I stored them. Yeah.
Right. So this is a separate catalogue that you've opened for. You know,
This one is just to mess around. If I show you my my real one, so this is my. I run two, but don't listen to me. That's just mental. While we're doing that, we'll just change the cursor size back, because the only person who can see a huge cursor at the moment is me, and it's annoying me.
I don't know. It might have been a bit bigger. Yeah.
No.
It was absolutely huge. You would know.
Oh yes.
that was huge.
It was huge. So
A huge cursor.
so how are you going to start there? So this is my main Lightroom catalogue.
With, I would guess, over 50,000 pictures.
I don't know. So it's got to be something like that.
It's not just size, you know.
Not the size of your catalogue.
Exactly.
You tag it.
Oh my God, we got that wrong, didn't we, Chris?
125,000 images. Yeah. So yeah. So if I show you that, if I go away.
I can see you're working on your best. They're amazing.
Those are the 5 that I got shortlisted for Landscape Photographer of the Year.
Brilliant.
Did I mean?
Sorry, you shortlisted or they've shortlisted?
Yeah, they're shortlisted. I sent so there was 20 images, and you send in, and then I got back that 5 have been shortlisted, which is quite nice.
Oh, well done.
Well, I've been shortlisted before and nothing happened. So if I select all photographs and search text, and let's do a quick search for Charlie. So it's pretty quickly, and it would do it quicker if I wasn't sharing my screen, pretty quickly come back with all tagged with pictures of Charlie on it. Now, the big advantage of this over, say, Bridge or something else, is that some of those are on this laptop that I'm working on now, and some of them are on a disk drive on a network machine.
Right.
It will be really slow to search, to go through each file. But because all of this is stored just in the database, all that metadata is just stored in the database, it's just doing a database search and can pull them up really, really quickly.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So that's yeah. So, but if I knew I was looking for a picture in February of Charlie, there you go. That's just the pictures in February of Charlie. So the two work together.
Yes.
Can I know you'll want to start what you want to talk about.
No. I'm here for you. I'm an enabler.
Thank you. Did you put the dates in there, or does Lightroom put dates in?
So what, on the left-hand side?
Yes, under your archive there.
Well, you remember when we imported them? What I do is when I import from the card, yeah, the option I use the option to copy them or move them, and it copies them on, and you can set which folder types they go, what the folders are they go in.
Right.
Yeah, that was sort of lesson 1 back then. But at the moment you're importing everything you're just leaving it where it is and importing it, yeah?
Yes, that's right.
So this folder structure on the left-hand side will represent how you stored them before Lightroom, yeah?
Yes.
Because that's the physical location on disk. But
Yes.
that's not so bad, because if we go to metadata, and we all know that metadata is data about data, we can actually filter by date anyway. So down here on the left-hand side, let's have a look, see what I took in 2007, February 2007, and let's take Saturday 2007. Well, that was a good day. Actually got one that came out. So I thought they were all going to be like family photos or something.
Or something worse.
No, the porn is in a separate one. So that's why I keep two catalogues. Go away! I don't care about DRS systems. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. So we can filter by all of this metadata up the top. I'm pointing to the screen again. You can't see me point. But so. Yeah, so you can see that we filtered by date. So what we could do, so say, I don't know, let's do something else. Let's say, I don't know, as has happened to me, somebody has said to me, what photos have you taken in the last year with your Olympus EM1 Mark II? So, what I can do is I can select January and 2019, 2020, and see this list on the right-hand side of cameras that already filtered down because I haven't taken anything with Canon cameras in that period. Yeah, and then I can say, oh, with the EM1 Mark II, and then filters it again, and then down to say a specific lens.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Teddy on the stairs. So these are the way it's at the moment. But you can, instead of doing lens, you might want to take everything that I took with a focal length of is that done update? Yeah. So everything I took at my widest focal length. Yeah. Over the last 2 years, 7 mil.
I'd like to see, Chris, what you're taking in the future.
Sorry?
2036 looks really...
Yeah, so that'll be something that downloaded badly, I should think.
Yeah, I do that as well. Yeah.
2036 sounds like a sort of...
Blade Runner.
No, those are PSDs that I've imported that were kicking about when I finally tidied up my catalogue, so they're quite old ones. Yeah, no, they're JPEGs actually, so they probably haven't got a capture date on them.
I don't know if you mentioned that if these categories don't come up, you can add columns.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry, when you say...
Yeah, I mean, you may not get all those columns.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, add a column here. Yeah, so you can filter by 5 or 6 or 7 different. So we go camera, we might then go. I don't know. Location.
Oh, I see. Yes. Right.
Yeah, and all of these are in an unknown location because I haven't got GPS tracking on the camera, and then we're 9mm. And then that I classified as an HDR set, yeah, and you can filter it down that way. Realistically, for most of us, you're only going to filter it down by 2 or 3. But yeah, you can add extra columns and filter all the way down. It's difficult to find examples for this till you actually need it, and this is the trouble with searching for stuff. God, these are annoying, aren't they? Let's just shut down Teams. That'll be the way forward. Some systems. Oh no, it's done. No, it's go. It won't go away. It won't. That's it. Right. Well, hopefully that's gone. Yeah, system's gone down. Nothing to do with me. Luckily. So that's how you. Yeah, that's the idea of those filters at the top. And again, what you could do is you could filter by. So, for instance, if we go back to the idea of collections. So, if I don't know. There's all my images that I've classified as holidays on the left-hand side here. If I then want to search for ones that were taken in Cumbria, it should, in theory, give me all my Lake District photos. So, or I could have just done a text search for Cumbria, but maybe I wanted times I went to Lake holiday rather than work, and you know, it just helps you ways of finding stuff. The important thing with keywording is that you kind of have to know how you want to get stuff out, what the things are that are important to you. So
results.
So if I show you my main keyword list.
Can I just stop you there, Chris?
Yeah.
If just on that very lovely picture of you.
Oh yeah, God,
if you wanted to know which actual file that was in, how do you do that?
Well, it says on the top there. That's the CS 2009-1108 lakes 186.7.cr2. That's the file name.
Right. Mine hasn't got that. All mine's got is size, pixel size, and an image number.
Yeah. So if you go up to view.
Where's view? All right, view.
Yeah. This is grid view and the grid view style. And I've got show extra, show badges, and expanded cells on.
So have I. Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
If you open the image, it'll come down underneath, won't it?
Yeah, I mean,
make the grid size bigger, Paul.
Yeah.
So again?
Plus on your keyboard. Plus or minus on your keyboard, make you.
Right, it still hasn't come up.
No.
It's okay. No, I don't want to stop.
It might be a feature of.
You can set what comes up though, can't you?
Yeah, it's edit preferences.
Hold on. Where
Control plus. Control comma.
Top? Edit at the top. You said.
Is that right? Is it display?
Edit
No.
Preferences. Yeah.
No, it is.
It's somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't worry. I don't want to go off on a tangent.
Yeah, it's
Gets boring for other people.
Doesn't it come up at the bottom, Paul, when you open the image? If you click on the image and open it, doesn't it come up at the bottom? The whole file.
I'll show you how to really answer Paul's question. Yeah. So if we pick that picture there, what a fine chap that is.
Looking man.
Who is it?
I don't know. It's obviously a professional model. If you right mouse click on it, you have various options. One is go to folder in library. You click that.
Ah, perfect. Yeah.
Right. That shows you exactly where it is inside the Lightroom. Inside Lightroom. If you right mouse click on it and say go to show in Explorer, it will actually open it in. It translates into MacSpeak Finder, and actually shows you the file where it is on the disk. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you can always get to it. So if you want to find the original raw file, there's two ways of looking at it. You can either look at it on the disk, or Lightroom will tell you the same thing.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you.
We're all good. So we had a little bit of an adventure there. So yeah, that's what my archive looks like. And yeah, just to say that, like I was saying about collections. So here, I created a collection set for Landscape Photographer of the Year when I put the 20 in to answer Warren's question about what were. So these were the ones I entered. Sorry, 18 I entered. And then they came back and said, these 5 are shortlisted. And that's what those collections allow you to do. You can always go back and see. Because the first thing, if I hadn't have put those 18 in a collection, when they come back and said they were shortlisted, I'd have to go and find them again. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't know where they were. But because I'd gone to the trouble of putting them in a collection, then I could find them. Also, I could, once I got them in a collection, I could export it. So let's go back to our training catalogue. I don't really want to bugger up my other one.
We should use some of those images in our next external competition, Chris. They were excellent.
Right. Been kicking about for a while. It's funny actually. Anything I thought they would actually pick, they didn't.
No, I mean some comes under the heading of street photography. Not
Two. I would definitely classify two of them as street photography.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
There is a urban view is one of the things, and you are allowed people in it. And when I looked at what other people have won before, in that category, there's a lot of what I would class as street photography, not landscape. But then, have you ever seen garden photographer of the year? That's always got like huge landscapes in it. I think the winner last year or the year before was a great big view of Mackenzie country in New Zealand with the. And I thought, well, not garden, is it? By any definition, but they have an extra category. You know, I suppose it's because they want to get people to
Enter.
look at it.
Yeah.
So, right, what was it I actually wanted to talk about today? Right, yeah. So, yeah, the number one question, actually, let's hold that there for a second because then I can use that still for the video. The number one question people when they first use Lightroom is what happened to save as? Yeah, because they look through their photos, they've got them into Lightroom, but how the hell do you get them back out again? Yeah, and this again is one of the powerful things of Lightroom itself that other software, well, obviously other software does it, but not the editing software. This is the difference between Lightroom and Photoshop and Lightroom. Lightroom gives you the idea of exporting. You never save as, you export. And why would you export rather than just save as? Well, it's a fine line, but that's what they've decided to call it. So let's do a proper example of what we would do. So these are all JPEGs. We've got any RAWs?
Do a search.
Yep, that's a bloody good thing. If only there was a way to find all the RAW files. So metadata, file type, RAW files. There you go. Well done, Jeff. Well suggested.
He was listening to you.
Yeah, Jeff knows what to do. So if we go to my my Fox and her cubs, she comes to our back fence every night now for jam sandwiches to feed her cubs. Apparently, jam sandwiches are what foxes eat. Apparently, that's the best thing.
They knock them up every night. Yeah.
Yeah, according to Fox Rescue, jam sandwiches are the way forward.
Dog meat.
Oh, there we go. They're in her 2 cups. There we go. Yeah. That one, I think. Anyway, so I decided this is the picture that I am going to put into the next H2 competition. And I'm going to put it in and it's going to win. No doubt about it. The judge won't say that's too small in the frame or anything like that. The judge will love it. So I've got my foxes and I want to export them. And the first thing I do is I wander off to the H2 website. And there we go, there's the H2 website. And it says, oh, digital files have got to be saved in this format. And I say, it's got to be saved as a JPEG. I've only got a RAW file. Oh, 1600 by 1200. I bet mine isn't 1600 by 1200. How do I do that? Well, this is where export comes in, because I don't want to change this file. I want to keep this file as it is, because I might change it at a later date. I might want a big one, because 1600 by 1200 is quite a small size. And say this stunning picture, we want a print of it. I obviously don't want to damage this one, so that's why we export. We don't edit the existing file, we export it under a new format. How do we do that? Well, we go to File, Export. And we get to the world's biggest, nastiest, most complicated dialog box. Confuses the hell out of a lot of people.
I'm pleased you said that, because, yes, it's put me off many times.
Think of it, it's just sort of kind of think of it as you can ignore most of it. But also you only have to do most of this once, and I'll show you how. So, go away. Up the top, we have a decision as to what we want to export to. Now, by default, you will get 3, which is email, hard drive, and CD, DVD, if you've got one of those, Grandad. Does anybody still write stuff to CD? I don't think I've done that for about 2 years at least. You can also, as you install plugins and things, you can get extra export options. So, for instance, I use the Photo Deck export to export straight into my onto my website and put pictures straight onto my website, which is hosted by Photo Deck. Photo Box, if I want to print stuff, I can export straight to Photo Box and print stuff. But they all work in a similar way, really. I'm sorry, I hope this isn't too annoying with all this stuff popping up. Can't get rid of it, can't get out. Hang on a sec. Get up.
Move them to the second monitor.
I haven't got a second monitor. All right, okay. All right, so that's now annoying because it's now popping up on that computer instead of just this one, instead of both of them. So it's even more confusing. But anyway, so normally you're either going to export to hard drive. You might occasionally export to email. That gets a bit, to be honest, gets a bit fraught with technicalities. It's probably easier to export to the hard drive and then create a new mail and send it rather than to do both. So where do we want to? So ignore the left-hand side for the moment. These are just presets. We'll come back to presets in a minute and why presets are the best thing on the planet. But what we want to do is decide where we want to export to. So there's various options here. So down the bottom, we've got places that I've used before or places it thinks I might like to. So I might like to export to pictures, or in my case, I usually chuck everything on the desktop. Or I can just do a specific folder and then browse to a specific location somewhere. You know, if I want to select that particular folder, and then that's the folder I want to put it in. Or the third option is choose folder later, which if you're, so a preset is once we've gone through these options, we can save them as a preset. And one of the things you can do is leave this option set, choose folder later, and then when you run the preset, it'll say, okay, I'm going to do this, but where do you want me to save it to? So normally it's either going to be specific folder or choose folder later if you would create a preset. But we'll do a specific folder. I'm going to put it in the desktop, actually on my desktop. And I can always, let's create a subfolder on there. H2 example, because there might be another H2 folder on there, there's a fair chance. There are some other options you can do. One is to add the exported file back to the catalogue. It's a loss to me why you would do that. I don't know why you would want to keep the main version and some tiny little version. It seems a very confusing way of doing things.
Well, if you've done a large JPEG, you save it with the same folder, and then keep
You
it
can
the
always
same.
just export again, can't you? I don't. I don't know why. Yeah, it leaves me cold. That I don't know. Yeah, and if you do add it to the catalogue, you can stack it underneath the existing one and all that. But probably best if you ignore that option. Then there's file handling. So when you run an export once, it'll work fine. When you do it again, it wants to know what you want to do if you've got a file of the same name. So you can either ask the person what to do, which is usually the safest option, or it will automatically pick a new name for the exported file, or overwrite it, or just skip it. Skip it would be annoying, because it wouldn't. You'd ask it to export and it wouldn't have done anything. You'd have got the old version of your files there. So usually safest to leave it as ask what to do. So when it exports the files, it says, are there files already here with the same name? In which case, I'll say, Chris, I've got 2 files. I'm going to overwrite the existing file. Is that okay? Yeah, that's what that option asks you to do. So if you hit export now, what it will do, without changing any of the other options, so if I take that one off, and I've said down here, image format JPEG, that will save my raw file as a JPEG. Just a full-size JPEG, no changes at all. So that's quickly how you do a save as a JPEG. But what we normally want to do is maybe change the name of the files we export, but we almost certainly want to change the file settings. So if we look at the H2 website, it was 1600 by 1200.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1600 by 1200. So we would go down here. Does help if you look at the right screen, I got that. We can resize it to fit 1600 by 1200, yeah? Everybody understand what that's doing? Any questions? Yeah, so normally if you did this in Photoshop, you'd have to take the large image, resize it in Photoshop, and then save it as something else. This is doing this for us all in one go. Depending on who you're sending files to or what requirements they have, they might not say it's got to be a certain width and a certain width. They might say that the longest edge, so even if it's portrait or landscape, the longest edge can only be 1200 pixels. Or the short edge has to be 1200 pixels or 800 pixels. And when you say the long edge is this, so you say the long edge is 1600, it'll resize the other edge to fit. It does it proportionally, you don't end up with a squashed thing. Or you can say the image has to fit 5 megapixels. So if they want if for instance they say we must have a 10 megapixel image, and when you save it first time, you only get 5 megapixels. You can make it 10 megapixels, and it should interpolate the size of the file and give you a bigger file. The other option to have on here is don't enlarge. So if you've got a small file, you just goes to the biggest it possibly can be, rather than it's making it adding extra stuff in and it trying to make up a big file. Resolution. Some people ask for resolution, number of pixels per inch. Honestly, don't worry about it. You'll see stuff about it's got to be 300 pixels per inch for printing. It's got to be 72 for screen. It's rubbish, because the resolution is just a label on the file. It's the number of pixels that's important. That resolution really doesn't matter too much. So to resize for H2 format, we want a 1600 by 1200 image. Don't enlarge it, because hopefully we've taken pictures that are big enough. And that again would do, we could just export like that, just export and it'll chuck it out. Now, if you did that, it would probably do okay. But because of the way when they resize images, effectively when you resize an image, you're throwing away information. If you're making it smaller, you're throwing away information. If you make it bigger, you're adding information. And the computer's making that up using an algorithm that none of us really understand. And so when it does that, you can get some softness in your image. So when you output, you have a chance, when you export, you have a chance here on this screen how you want to sharpen your image. And so for a projected image, you would want it sharpened enough for screen use. The way it works is that you should, in theory, if you were doing it manually sharpening it, you would add more sharpening for print than you do for screen. Basically because there's more pixels needed for print than there is for screen. And so the clever people at Adobe have given you three options there. You can have it sharpened for screen, or two different types of paper. So if that was, if somebody said, if you were sending this to a print bureau, you could say, print it, oh, I'm going to do these on glossy paper, sharpen them for glossy paper, and it'll give you the right amount of sharpening for glossy paper. When I say right, this is art, so it's up to them. But they certainly probably do it better than you would straight off. And then you can set the amount of sharpening you want, so that's low, medium, or high. Probably best to leave this as standard. For competition prints, competition DPIs, I tend to take them and as they come out of this as standard, I then will take the output file, nip it into Photoshop, and just sharpen the occasional small bits extra on top. Rather than doing that, rather than overall sharpen high, I just standard. But that's an aside. So again, so that's kind of what we want our images to look like as we export them for H2. And then we get down to some of the other stuff. Metadata. So, we put all these keywords on. We've also got EXIF information where we've put our copyright details, our name and address on it, everything. If you export with all metadata, all of that gets included in the file. So if you do, so if you do that, all of that gets included in the file. So if I open your email, I open a picture you've sent me, I can, find your name, the copyright, contact details, if that's what you've included in the metadata, which is fine. So if you're a commercial photographer, most commercial photographers would do that because they want whoever picks the file up to go, okay, right, it's owned by Barry, let's pay Barry some money and print it. Not so good if you want to put it on the internet and you want a certain level of privacy. Good example of this is in Afghanistan, the Americans had half a dozen brand new helicopters arrive at a base. One of the American troopers there picked up his phone, took a photo, put it on Facebook saying, oh, we've got some brand new helicopters. The picture had the metadata with the exact location, because your phone will record your exact location on every image you take. That data went up to Facebook. The Taliban picked that up. Within half an hour, rocket strike straight on the base, all those helicopters exploded and gone. Yeah. That's the power of metadata. Yeah, people bleed data all the time about themselves, so you have to kind of be careful. Now, this doesn't matter so much if you're exporting for an H2 competition, but say if you're putting it on Flickr or something like that, depends on what you wanted people to know. You might not want everybody to know what camera you used, or when you took it. Up to you. So you get a choice of what camera information. So so you get all camera raw info. So remember I said within Lightroom you've got each step you'd edit in step is effectively a recipe. That gets stored as metadata in your file. And when you export it, somebody can look at that metadata and say, so he pulled it in, he converted it to black and white, he added sharpening, he did this filter, he did that, he did this. And so you can see all of that, and it's all in the metadata, in the camera raw info. I don't care if you see that. Other people have their own special recipes that they don't like other people to know about, so you might want to exclude that. And you might want to exclude your camera detail if you're paranoid about somebody finding out, what camera you got and what serial number it is. So you might, if you were a commercial photographer, you might just use copyright and contact info only, or you could just say just your copyright information. So that's a choice as to what information you want to send out with this file. Probably if you want to be safe, it's probably copyright only would be the way forward, but I'm not too fussed really if somebody wants to go through, because it's got all my contact information and what more do you need. And then you can remove extra information here as well. And we'll ignore the Lightroom hierarchy because that's just too geeky for words. Another thing you can do is you can add a watermark on your image. We won't go into that, but what you can do is watermark is, where you sort of like you get a pale text on your image and it says, copyright Chris Shepherd or whatever on every image. Some people do that to stop their images being nicked off the internet. Some people don't. Page money takes your choice. Up to you, really. And then the final thing is this post-processing. What do you want to do after you've exported the picture? So you can, there are various things you can do. At the end of it, you can export to email or open it in Photoshop when you export the file. Do nothing is one option, but I usually do show in Explorer. So if I now export that file, see at the top here it says export in one file. Come on, get on with it. There we go. It's exporting that file. When it's finished exporting that file, it should, there you go, open an Explorer window with that file in it. Yeah, and if we look at the properties of that image, first of all, it's a JPEG, which is what we asked it to chuck out. We started with a RAW. And we can see that it's 1600 by 1200 pixels. Now, that's all good. That's lovely. But, so I've done that and I look at that and I think, oh, I don't know. This Foxy picture is a much better one. I should have used that. Right. So what I don't want to do is go back to File, Export. Does open if you look at the right screen. Now, luckily enough, when you do export, it remembers the last settings you set. So I could do it again, but maybe I've gone away, I've done another export, and I've lost all these settings that I carefully put together. So what you can do is, I said over on this left-hand side here, we've got these presets. We can create this and save it as a preset. I'll give you a basic rule here for presets. basically, the rule for using computers is if you do something once, don't worry about it. Twice, then you start to need to worry about automating it. By the third time, best thing you can do is automate it, because that's the whole point of computers. They're supposed to make life easier. Yeah, they're not supposed to make life more complicated. They're supposed to remember stuff for us and automate the boring stuff for us. So, having got this set up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, click on Add, and call it a new preset. Great. So all I've done there is I've just told it to remember these settings on the right hand side, all of those settings. So if I look on the left hand side, there should be,
It's highlighted.
example H2 example export, yeah. So if I click on these other ones, they've got lots of different settings where I'll set these up. If I click on that example H2 export, it's remembered all the settings. Yeah. So next time I come in here and I say, actually, I'm going to put all of that lot into competition. I can do File, Export, scroll down to example H2 export, hit export, and all of those will be processed in exactly the same way. All of them resized, all of them sharpened. We'll come back to file renaming in a minute. But hopefully they should all be doing what we want. So they'll all start coming out in a minute. That's good. There we go. You see the progress bar top left that shows you how far we're moving through this.
I think remember is don't use the tick box in the newer version of Lightroom. Don't use the tick box. Just highlight it.
Yeah, I'll show you that in a sec. That's the most confusing. Well, one of the many. All my internet connections unstable apparently. Yeah, it's one of the most confusing things of the new dialogue. It took me ages to work out how that worked. Sometimes it can be a bit dim. But
in the club.
Here we go. So, right. So there you go. It's chucked out all of them, all of those images, which is lovely. Yeah, just what we want it to do. And even better, I can just do File. So right mouse click on an image, Export. And again, example H2 export. And your list of presets won't be anywhere near as long as this. I've gone a bit mad on them. But just select example H2 export and it will just chuck it out. So I don't even have to go into the file export dialog. The thing Jeff was saying, so before I do that, if we look at this, so which one of my beautiful images that we've got here should we really put into competition? I know.
Sorry, Chris. Just
yeah, go.
That extra drop-down menu that you got from export. Where did you find that?
Right mouse click. Right mouse click. Export.
Ah, right. So it's actually on the image itself.
Yes. Or you can do File, Export with Preset, and then you get all your presets.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
There's always half a dozen ways of doing everything usually. So we're going to go away from foxes and we're going to do something much more beautiful. This beautiful tree. And what we're going to do is we're going to give this a title. And so this is the title that I want my image to be shown up on the big display board. And I'm going to go, I'm going to call this one Trees Are Proud. Yeah. Because we know judges love us. They've all got a great sense of humour, so they love a pun. So now what I can do is I'll do File, Export. Because if we look back to the specification, we should be doing something like that. We should be giving our files a name of a dog's dinner or whatever, rather than as we're chucking them out at the moment. untitled one.
Sorry,
right?
Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see where you got that caption window from.
Okay, so that is.
Sorry.
So you're in library mode. Click on an image.
Yeah.
But that's not the default. Look at the default, and there's one. The fourth one down is called title. So you're on the metadata panel on the right hand side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at the top of the metadata panel, I've picked default here. Yeah.
1 minute.
Which changes your view of that panel.
The metadata. At the moment, my preset says none.
Now above preset.
IP. I've got IPTC.
Yes. Click on that and select default.
Gotcha.
Right.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
And about the fifth one down is called title.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's your title. So what I recommend you do is always fill that title in for anything you put into competition, stuff like that, because otherwise what happens is at the end of the year, or maybe a year and a half later, Jeff or Paul will come to you and say, oh, we want to put that image trees a crowd in, and you'll be going, I can't remember what one that was, because at the time it seemed like a good title, but I can't remember what it is now. In fact, if you look, I've used the same title half a dozen times for the same for different pictures. But anyway, so I've got it trees a crowd, filled in the metadata there, and then we can use that metadata in our export. So what we could do is we just say rename to title, and what we will get there. See this bit where it says an example. That will chuck out a file called trees a crowd. Yeah, that makes sense to everybody. Yeah.
Getting a little bit too fast on that last bit.
Right. Okay. So we put the title in as metadata. In the file naming part on the right hand side, we've said to rename the file, which is what that checkbox does, and then we can choose how we rename it. One of those options is to use the title field. That makes sense?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Yep. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So because so if you actually see on my screen, I've got the title there. It is taken that title because I've said to use the title and call it trees a crowd, which is good, but we want something more than that. We want a dog's dinner bomb at Malcolm Tin, or trees a crowd by at Chris Shepherd. So how do we do that? Well, what I've got is a preset here called H2 Images, which gives me that. How do you create a preset? Well, if you click on here, click on Edit, I'll clear this down, show you what I did. I said, what metadata do I want? Oh, the title, which is this field here. Let's insert that there. And then some custom, in fact, instead of custom text, let's just do it. Just type at Chris Shepherd. So what we've done is we've created a template which says, take the title of the image and put at Chris Shepherd at the end of it.
So how did you get that title up in brackets?
Okay, let me show you again. So we're editing this preset.
Yeah.
You probably need to go to custom to create a new one, don't you, Chris?
Yeah, let's try it. Yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. I've just hit, sorry.
You see, I'm trying to follow this along on mine.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah, I can understand. But I just
and it didn't work. When I clicked title, it didn't come up like yours did, you know.
well, title doesn't come up with trees of crown or something like that. In the example there, yeah.
Is this under metadata? No.
No, under file naming.
No, I'm in file name template editor.
Right, okay, yeah. So if we go, yeah, so we go edit here. Yeah. So see this white box here, yeah? If you clear that out completely.
Yes, right.
And what we'll do is we'll create a new one. So what we do is we say we want the title. So down here, we pick the metadata, we pick the title field, and we're going to insert that, and that appears at the top.
No, do that again. I didn't see how quickly you...
Down the bottom, you've got metadata, yeah?
What, in the title drop-down?
Yeah, there's a title drop-down. See where my mouse cursor is?
Yeah, that's where I am. Yep.
Yeah. If I hit insert there...
insert.
Up here.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm picking up and putting there.
Good. Yeah. Yep, that's happened there. Yep.
Yeah. And then I can just add some extra text after that.
Right.
Just typing with my fingers. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what you want to do is make sure you save that preset as, so save current settings as a new preset. And I'll call this one again, example H2 naming, or you can call it H2 images or whatever you want to do. Create that.
And you've called, that's the preset name, is it?
Yeah, yeah. So when I've done that, yeah. So here, that's the name that appears here.
Right. I didn't see how you saved it. Sorry to be a pain. So you went...
Edit. So I'm going to edit it. Yeah. Yeah, so I click down here.
Right, click preset, yeah.
Save current settings as a new preset.
Save current settings as a new preset. Yep, got it. Right.
Example. Create. And then you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, so H2 PDI setting or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's my example.
Yep.
And that gives us the naming. So now all I need to do is on my how do you update the existing preset? I think you give it the same name, didn't you?
You have to right click on the preset you've already got.
Ah, okay. So I've always given it exactly the same name, but you're probably right. Let's try that. Yes, update with current settings. So that's, as Jeff kindly said, if you right mouse click on the export, you can update it with current settings, or if you had already created it, you can just do a save. So let's just quit out of there. So now, if I just right mouse click on that and say export, example H2 export, and it will chuck out a file.
That dialog box come up because the file already existed.
Yep, I ignored that bit. We did talk about that earlier. But yeah, so now I've got my files coming out in exactly the format I need for H2. Everybody got that?
Yep.
Everybody understand why presets make your life easier?
Yep.
Yeah? So just before we sign off, because we've taken quite a while, I've got a load of different presets that I've built up over the years. You get these ones, full-size print JPEGs and full-size screen JPEGs. So quite often you get asked for the full-size files, so they're always handy. Some specific applications need images a certain size, you can do that. Like I say, if you're going to do, if you get asked for an export more than once, it's worth creating an export for it. So, like, yeah, there's landscape photographer of the year, and mainly all I've done is follow their resizing guidelines. That's all it does. You know, it resizes to the way they want it done. So black and white photographer of the year, they had a different size, so I just used that. So next time I enter that competition, if I ever do, I can just pick that same options. And so that's how you basically build up your presets. Video still, yeah, that's quite a fun one. If you're doing titles for YouTube videos or something, again, they've got to be a certain size and stuff like that. Normally, it's the resizing that is the thing you change. You don't really want to do much else than that. There is, yeah. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about with exports. Everybody happy with exports? So is it giving you what you wanted?
It's just showing me how powerful Lightroom is.
Yeah.
Whether I would be able to set up those presets straight away now, I don't know, but I can have a click round, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the main thing is just really just select hard drive and select the size of image you want, and save it as a preset. Yeah, and you probably only need one for H2, one for your competition images, one for full size JPEGs, one for full size print JPEGs. And one for Flickr photos. If you resize them before you export them, or you strip the metadata out. Yeah.
Potentially, Paul, when you get used to it, you can then export by to open application afterwards. You could do an export to Affinity, convert it to a PSD or a TIFF.
Yeah.
It goes straight into Affinity.
Yeah. Right, that's kind of the idea. It's just really to save all that extra clicking and stuff like that. So I think there is a plug-in for Flickr. I've never tried it.
Well, Flickr is the as I put it at the screen down the bottom under collections.
Oh yeah, sorry, the published services.
Yes,
but you can export. You can use those to export to various things. You used to be able to export to Facebook, but they stopped that. You can export to Twitter and stuff like that. You can buy extra different exports, and all of those. So if you are, when you become a world famous blogger, you can just export all your stuff to Blogger really easily. All of that. It's just saving time and annoyance. Because if you save those presets, it's going to save you a lot of time with doing it again and again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was all I wanted to show you today.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any questions, anybody? Have I left you all behind, or are you all with me?
I tend to do it through Photoshop. So I tend to save all my stuff from Photoshop. I've never tried to do it through Lightroom before.
Yeah, you should do it through Lightroom. It'll save you a lot of effort.
I don't do that much, so.
Well, yeah.
Try.
I mean, the main thing is it saves cock-ups, really. Yeah, because you can just always get the size you want, really. So
you say it saves cock-ups, or it can generate a lot of cock-ups.
Yeah. as we say, it allows you to fail in new and interesting ways. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm off back to work to see what servers have exploded.
Yeah,